Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another show with Astropreneur. And tonight's going to be a really interesting show. But just before we get started, I want to do a little bit of an intro. Just remember, if you're today, we have Matt Organiscak from IC3D, who's going to be talking about the company and about what they do and about the filament and lots of other stuff that they actually are very involved in. So please stick around till the end. We do have some giveaways at the end of tonight's show, so please stick around for the giveaways. Now, some intro stuff before we get going. Please remember to click on the like and follow, subscribe, and give you a thumbs up because all of that helps the channel. Okay. If you want to sponsor the channel on an ongoing basis, you can actually join my Patreon page and subscribe on an ongoing basis. If you want to do a one-off payment, you can actually click on my and go contribute through my PayPal. And finally, if you wish just to buy me a coffee, you can go to this link and buy me a coffee. Always remember, these channels are live on both Facebook and on YouTube, so you can actually subscribe to both. And you can also find me on Twitter if you wish to. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring Matt in and let's have a quick chat with Matt. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Hey, Liam, doing good. How about yourself?
Good. I didn't make a mess of your name?
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry.
Be perfect.
So you're the Chief Operations Officer, and also you're doing double duty. You're also the VP of Engineering for IC3D.
Yeah.
So how do you land such a gig?
Yeah, I can tell you the story, but yeah, VP of Engineering or COO is an upgrade from what we used to call me, which was VP of everything else. So it was everything, everything else, everything that didn't have a job already. Yeah, I was, I was in college. I was maybe 24. I was finishing up my master's degree. I bought a 3D printer my last year, and I just thought, I know a lot of people that need something done. I could probably make money with this printer. I bought my first printer was a Flash Forge back when Flash Forge was, back when there was the wooden replicators, before everything was, the frames were still laser cut wood. It was like 2000. I think this was actually 2013. And I bought that machine. I started printing for people. I was making some money doing that. I reached out to Michael. Michael was local, here in Columbus, Ohio. I was at Ohio State, so I was in Columbus. I was just I was trying to find a part, just a silly part. Someone who knew more about electronics would know where this part was. And he just randomly called me. I guess he, just wanted to help me out that day. So he called me, which is unusual. And we started talking about it, and he helped me kind of find what I needed to find. We hooked up on LinkedIn. We connected on LinkedIn, and then, my background was automotive engineering. His background was automotive engineering. He was working at Honda and came out to see I invited him to come see the race shop that I was at the time. And that's kind of how we met at first. And, it was a very small, garage business. So it was just, I was kind of helping out here and there because that's what you do when you find something that seems kind of interesting. I was slated to go into the automotive industry. That was my specialty. After a couple internships, like 3 or 4 internships, I was saying, I don't know if this is going to work out for me. Maybe this isn't a good idea. I did move to Michigan for about 10 months. And then after that, Michael said, hey, I think it's about time that we move to the next level. And I quit my job, and I was kind of the first full-time paid guy that worked on IC3D full-time. So that's the story, maybe too detailed. I don't know.
No, it's good. That's the whole purpose of this, to get to know you. So, so mechanical engineering went from there to 3D printing, which you kind of answered how you got there. And you used to have your own 3D printing company, right? Why did you decide to go with IC3D rather than build what you already had begun?
Yeah, I mean, the company that I had was just at the time it was, hey, let's see if I can start a tiny business and make a little bit of money, as a lot of people are doing now. It's kind of common, printing out of my apartment. And I kind of just felt like mission accomplished. I I was bringing in a little bit of money, but it maybe wasn't enough to go full time. And then, with Michael, it was in IC3D, and it was just like, hey, there's an opportunity to keep 3D printing and to just, go full time, right now, basically 3D printing. So it kind of, I felt like at that time I had met my goal. My goal was like start a little company, have someone give me checks for work that I did that has nothing to do with the company that I was, and that's pretty satisfying, I think, for some people, when you do that.
So COO, what is it? Now you're in a small company, right? Most filming companies are smaller companies, right? Like I know a few of them. So what is the day in the life like for a COO?
Yeah, it's varied rapidly, it's still changes kind of every couple months because of the growth, because of how things are going. Right now we have about 17 full-time people. A year ago it was less than 10. A year before that I can't remember, maybe it was 6 or so. So it went from, I started out just handling most of the support that came in, mostly talking to customers. That's something that I still do to this day. I still do the filament support for the most part. But printing service, I still am kind of the lead for all of the customers, the new customers that come in. A lot of times, a lot of the new customers are coming with new applications and new questions and new problems to solve. So I handle those first. And then they might be delivered to an account manager after that. For the longest time, a new material that we wanted to develop, that had to be, I was generally pushing on that, or I was, trying to solve kind of like a big picture problem that we might have had with the shop, the facility or something like that. So at the time, maybe 6 months to a year ago, I was doing more of that. And since then, I transitioned more to doing kind of high level customer problem solving, which is going to be like application development sort of work. So I do quite a lot of that. Probably would be, some people might say sales or sales engineer, something like that would be maybe another way to put a name on that.
Jack of all trades then.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So we'll talk. There's a few questions there about materials and so on. We'll come back to that in a moment. But so most people know IC3D as manufacturers of filament, right? I'm guilty as charged, right? I wouldn't learn about IC3D through the filament, right? Actually, a buddy of mine told me about you. But what else do you offer besides just filament? Like, okay, I use your PETG. I love your PETG. It's the only PETG I actually use anymore, right? I'm being totally honest. Okay, I'm a big fan of your PETG material. I haven't used your PLA, but I don't do a lot of PLA printing myself. But what else do you do? Are you just pure filament manufacturers, or what else does IC3D offer?
Yeah, I'll say really quick. We don't use that much PLA either in house, which is kind of interesting, even though it's still kind of the material that everybody uses. Yeah, we have a printing service, a 3D printing service. We've been doing that for about 4 years now. It's quite a while, and we've been building our own printers in house for that printing service. And as of about 9 months ago, we've been developing our 3rd generation machine, which is the first machine we're going to sell to the public. So we will have a 3D printer division. When Michael started IC3D back in 2012, he was building and selling desktop printers. We moved out of that in 2015 or so to just focus on filament. Then we started in 2016, the printing service. And then again, then with the printers would be early this year, starting to develop printers. So the printing service is probably most of our focus for the last 4 years. And I think the really big benefit of that is just that we work a lot on developing new applications. So we're really just focused on end use for things. I think in the last 9 months also, with the new printer release, there's been a push to start pushing a lot of the materials that we use in our printing service out into the wild as products. So, you see, like, just recently the antimicrobial material popped up. That was kind of a COVID, little, child of COVID. But we've got recycled PETG coming out. We've got a polycarbonate product coming out. We've got a UV PETG product coming out. We've got a few others coming out probably in the next 3 to 6 months. TPU product that we released pretty recently. It's still fairly new to us. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing is all driven by these applications that we're developing in our shop, and to give you a scale of the shop, we're probably using 300 to 400 kgs of material per month. We've got about 30 TAS6 desktops. We've got about 5 medium-sized printers that are about 24 by 28 by 28 in size. We've got 5 very large machines. 4 of them are about 4 foot by 4 foot by 3.5 build volume. So they're pretty big. So this,
I've got room for one of those right behind this wall.
You probably do. The issue is the doors usually.
That's okay. For a printer that size, I'll take the doors down.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It might be easier to take the printer apart. We'll see.
Whichever works. So, you make your own printers. You have heavy, big, large scale industrial ones, right? And you also do you make your own filament. So, what other stuff? What other 3D printing products does IC3D solve today, and what are you really uniquely aligned to solve for going forward?
Yeah, it's interesting because it is a really wide array of things. I would say because of our background, because of our location, a lot of our customers end up being automotive related customers. Mm-hmm. So we do a lot of the manufacturing fixtures. So it's going to be tooling. It's going to be maybe large molds or something that a customer would use as a check fixture or measurement, measurement tool. We've got a few customers where maybe a few large customers that we use like build design aids for. So in this case, we have a large bicycle manufacturer that we make 3D printed frames for purely for design purposes, just kind of pre-manufacturing. So that would be an example. We've got, actually if I look that way, you can see there's a frame in the background. That's a BMX frame for a different bicycle company. It has support on it, so it still looks kind of not much like a bike frame. But so then we've got, I brought this here to show this 3D printed chair here.
Well, so, I was going to show a photograph of it, yeah. But since you have the original chair there.
Got a chair here. So, when we show that, that would be an example. That's a project we did for fun, but we end up having a few architectural customers. We've had a few concrete molds, things like that. We do, and I guess that's mainly on the large machines. The small machines, we do some larger, smaller volume production, I guess, maybe large for 3D printing. So we might have small parts about the size of a quarter that we do in the 10,000 range, other parts about the size of the palm of your hand that we might do in the 1 to 2,000 unit range, something like that. So kind of those 2 styles of printing are a little bit separate, the large 1, 2, 3 piece items, and then a lot of prototyping and fixtures. You get into small printers, you're doing a lot of low volume production.
And I'd like to say thanks, Jerry, for being my PR man to get people to like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, Jerry. So you do a lot in the community, right? And I have to admit, I'm just north of you. I'm in Michigan, but I didn't know about this until maybe 6 months ago. But you do an awful lot in the community. I know during COVID you did a lot, right? Even as a company yourselves did a lot, and you worked with a lot of other people out there in the 3D printing community to try and get materials printed. Well, so tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you've done, that you do in the community.
Yeah, I think that the big one is our annual Toys for Tots drive. this would be the third year. Someone's going to correct me if I'm wrong. Probably this is our third annual Toys for Tots, and it's just been exponentially growing. I think you've probably have some images. I know.
I'm proud to share it in 1 second.
I've got a cat right here, a lazy cat, and yeah, there you go. So I think we had well over 100 people printing toys. We donated over 400 kgs of material, which is it's pretty good amount of material. I mean, I think what's 400
400 kilos is a lot.
160 of those big spools that you buy. Those
Yeah.
spools, that's a lot. So, I think we were the person who built the file, donated that file, donated all those files to us for everything. And those are just still when I see those toys, it still kind of blows my mind a little bit, just because the design is so elegant and they're so easy to print. They're pretty fun to play with, kind of no matter who you are, like what age you are. They're pretty cool. And this is probably the biggest thing that we do. And this is just an annual thing. So we did, I think, 17,000 toys this year.
Wow.
Considerable amount of toys. I think last year was like 1,500, and the year before that was like 150.
And where do these go?
These are all Toys for Tots. Columbus is where the majority of them are donated. I believe that there are some other local clusters being donated in other areas too.
Yeah, let me share a few more pictures of that, because that's like these are fantastic.
Yeah, so,
they're
pretty neat. And NatureWorks, I got to say, NatureWorks donated a Gaylord of material, which is about 1,500 pounds of PLA for this.
Oh, so they're all PLA.
I wouldn't say all of it is PLA, but a considerable amount is PLA. Some is PETG, a little bit ABS, and then I know there's some recycled PETG got into the mix somewhere. That's really I'm not sure how much recycled PETG we got out there, but
yeah, that's fantastic. Like a lot, I know the 3D community gets really involved in this. And is there where can people just volunteer to help out with those Toys for Tots?
Absolutely. This year everything is finished, and I believe they're donating them in a few days or so. And I'll have to get you a link to the Toys for Tots page on our website.
It's already up there.
Okay, you got the link
for this year. Yes.
So I've got to ask Claudio how to basically how we're gonna. I don't know how we're gonna roll out the next invite for the next year. But it's probably going to be in a newsletter that we send out to our customers.
Okay, well,
probably how we'll end up doing it.
Actually, if anyone wants to hear about that, you should go to their website. Their website is IC3D Printers.com, and you can actually sign up for the newsletter there. Or if you want to let me know, and I'll announce it, or if you want, whenever you're starting it for next year, we can jump on and do a stream like this and do an announcement about it and how people can sign up and do an information and show some more information about it if you wish.
It's got exponentially bigger, right? So if we continue with that trend, then we're going to have to work pretty hard to get the word out. We're going to have to get a lot more material out the door. I mean, it's 150, 1,500. 15,000 was our goal. We hit 17,000. So I don't know. Add another zero is what's been happening. So is that 150,000?
Yeah. And then during COVID, you actually printed a lot of face shields and stuff as well in house.
Yeah. We printed internally somewhere between 12,000 and 15,000 face shields, and then we had a lot of people printing face shields and donating them as well. So. We were purchasing the PETG shields. We were purchasing the foam that went on there, and we had you see there a bunch of team members assembling all those. So that was a pretty significant effort. I mean, that went on for many months.
Yeah, that's kind of died down now because there's a lot. The PPE has become more readily available compared to what happened when COVID initially struck.
Yeah, I think this was pretty wild because this was the first time that a bunch of people who were used to maybe just printing. Everyone's kind of searching for stuff to print on their printer. Maybe some people have a mission. Some people just use it as a toy or something, and then suddenly everyone had a mission all of a sudden. So everyone just went pretty crazy, and we had a few. Large companies like or large groups like Make for COVID in Colorado. A lot of our material went to Make for COVID, a ton of it, and we went from maybe a little spike in sales to we were making filament 24/7. This is actually the first time we were running the extruders 24/7, and we ran it for about, I think, almost 30 days, 24/7, and we were shipping full pallets of material every 2 or 3 days somewhere. We were shipping pallets of material, and we went. I want to say our 2 extruders went from maybe 2,000 kgs a month up to about 10,000 kgs a month, like that.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned about the big printers. How big is big? The one that I have a photograph. I'm going to show it so you can tell everybody how big that printer really is.
Yeah, I mean the build volume of the machine is 48 inches by 48 by 42, so 4 foot by 4 foot by 3.5. The exterior dimension of the printer is 6 foot by 6 foot by maybe 7 foot. I think so. They're decently big, and there's 5 of them. There's 4 of them when you walk down the main aisle. There's 4 of them side by side. They take up pretty considerable amount of space.
I'd have to give up my office for that.
Yeah, they're big. I mean, it's normal now, but it wasn't normal, several years ago. But now, you might have to go pick something off the build plate and you have to climb into it. I think I had my knee on the build plate, the other day for something we were doing. That kind of stuff is kind of weird. Or you print something that's really big and it sticks to your build plate a little more than you wanted it to. And so now you and a couple guys all have hammers and chisels, and you're like you're just all surrounding a part trying to get it off. I mean, it can be pretty miserable in that case. But
when stuff sticks, especially if you're in PETG, and when PETG sticks, we've all seen it on the Facebook groups when people have lost glass from their print beds because they forgot to put a coating down for PETG.
Yeah.
And even if you do have a release agent and you do a really large print area on PETG, no matter what coating you put on underneath it, it's going to hold anyway, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'll say on the big printers we use a product called Layer Near. I've spoken with the owner. He gives us we buy bulk from him, and it's a pretty good product, and it works really well with our PETG. It releases very well. It sticks very well. Cool. So
here's a question that's going to come. I was about to ask a question anyway, right? There's a question here about your extrusion lines.
Yeah.
How many filament extrusion lines do you presently run?
We have 2. So we just have 2. We've got a larger one and a smaller one. The larger one's about a 40 millimeter screw. The smaller one is 1 1/4 inch, which is not too far off, but it's smaller.
Well, you have a process called open source filament. How does that work?
Yeah, the concept of open source filament is pretty strange. It's because these machines were all developed, our desktop printers were all developed in the early days with a bunch of guys that were very open, and they were developing them with the open source, ideology. And so all the material that runs on these machines, people often consider to be open source. But our material is open source hardware certified. It's the only, to my knowledge, the only filament that's OSHA certified. The thing that's hard to understand is that it's I think the only consumable that's OSHA open source hardware certified. So typically hardware is a thing, right? Like a computer mouse or something would would be hardware. But now we have a consumable, which isn't typically what you would consider hardware. What makes it kind of our mission, our goal with that was to be transparent. Because at least for me as an engineer, I was pretty annoyed getting into 3D printing, seeing this person's PLA, that person's PLA, that person's PLA, that person's PLA. And all these people would, people would talk on the internet and say, this thing is bad, this is good, and this is that, and this is better. And there's kind of a lot of fancy words that people put in front of it, like this is super special technology in this one or that one. And so it was just purely us saying, well, we would rather everyone know kind of what they're actually getting in the plastic. We want everyone to know, what the product is and what it's made out of. And so that's really where the open source hardware certification came from. And then one of the big push areas that we've got, the next over the next year or two is going to be even more transparent. So how much transparency can we have with the material that we produce? So if you get on our website, you can see the open source hardware, the white paper that we wrote that allowed us to certify our materials open source. It shows you what extruders we use, it shows you where we get our material from, shows you, how we do it. There's always going to be a few nuances here and there. It's not going to be perfect, but it is enough information that I think someone could, replicate our experiment and kind of be close enough to start making filament the way we do it.
Well, yeah, there's too many, like a lot of people have struggled even to get the firmware for the printers, not even to the point of knowing what's in the filament. So it's nice to see that transparency out there, because there's not enough people who do it. And it's a good drive. It builds confidence knowing what's going to be out, what's in the product, what's going to be out there, and what they're actually using. So
yeah, or even did it change? Is this different? Did you guys switch to a cheaper material, or do you cheapen out now? Or you get emails like that every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because it's also kind of this is how it's done, and to me it's a little bit of a promise of this is how we're going to keep doing it, that sort of thing. So and I'm also usually a pretty open book with. If you have a question for, hey, where's this made, or where's that made, or what's HTPLA mean, or something like that, I generally know what the different materials that are on the market are. I think now it's been a while. You're going to see a lot more companies are actually compounding their own materials and making changes and making modifications to it. But at least a few years ago, it was very uncommon. And a lot of the base PLAs, all come from exactly the same place. And to my knowledge, there is only one manufacturer of PLA, at least in the United States. There may now be one in Asia. It's possible. But for the longest time, NatureWorks was the only manufacturer. So they make a few grades of PLA. And
that was a base product, which you then would make your additives or coloring and whatever to it. That was the raw material.
Yeah, and our PLA is 4043D. It's just the kind of the base 3D printing grade of PLA, and then we add color to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just our PLA is basic pure PLA like that.
So you're surrounded by 3D printers and filament all day long, when you're not in meetings. So, do you own your own 3D printer? And when was the last time you 3D printed something, and what was it?
I do not own a 3D printer at my house anymore. When we got to, I want to say 6 or 7 desktop printers here at the shop, I sold my printer. I didn't need it because I had all the printers here. So I try to fit whatever I want to print in between our production schedule, which is sometimes easy and sometimes hard. Most of what I print for myself, I've got a van that I'm converting into an RV. And so I print tons and tons of things. Had I spent a little bit of time ahead of time, I probably could have sent a little bit more pictures, but that's mostly what I print. I have a few pieces here. They're not super impressive pieces. But I print mostly with our recycled PETG. It's my favorite thing to use so far. And I print mostly with a really big nozzle and a really tall layer height because I'm printing furniture basically. But I've got a mock-up. I've got a mock-up of an overhead shelf that I designed. So imagine like an overhead compartment in an airplane with a door that opens like this. Mm-hmm. So this is just a mock-up piece. You see it's very thin, but the full piece is about 20 inches long, and it's got a shelf in the center and a shelf on the bottom, and a space for a door to open like that. But something like this probably took me only about 45 minutes to an hour of print time.
Just on the big printers?
Yeah, on the big printer, just because I don't know how well you can see it here, but
what are you using? One mil nozzle?
1 millimeter layer height with a 2 millimeter nozzle.
2 millimeter. Okay, I can't push plastic that fast.
And at that point here, this one, I often just do one wall. Got a 2 millimeter wall, so I just do one wall.
Well, yeah, when you have a 2 millimeter nozzle, you can get away with that. That's really good.
Yeah. And it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty awesome. This is a recycled PETG.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool. It's interesting because it is degraded because it's gone through one of the cycles. It's gone through a cycle already, and so it's got a little bit less heat resistance than normal PETG, but it flows a lot. So with a high flow machine, with a high flow printer, you can print really quickly. You can push a lot of material through. So not only is it's much cheaper than the other materials, it's recycled, so you get a little warm fuzzy feeling inside, and then it flows really well. So it's just this combination of all of it, and the end product is something like you would get with just PLA, or it's pretty basic. It doesn't work just like PLA. It's very simple.
There's a good question here. What was the biggest fail you've had in those big printers?
The biggest one. There's been a lot. I mean, we would print. I'm trying to think of a specific failure. We would have a part that's 30, 40 inches long, and it would warp a little bit. And a little bit means 10 millimeters or something, right? Enough to. We're using the E3D Super Volcano at the moment. And for the higher flow, and it's basically held on just by this little tiny heat break. And so the part hits the nozzle, the heat break breaks, and then filament, 3 millimeter filament just starts shooting right out. And you come back in the morning and you might have a bird's nest of 3 millimeter filament just wrapped all the way around the printer every which way. That would be bad. But Ryan says the bell. Yeah, the bell's pretty bad. I could show you the bell if we go for a walk.
Okay.
But we had we did this replica bell for the Battleship New Jersey, and we just kept having a few. I want to say just machine issues, and it was a 3 or 4 day print, and it would just turn into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days, just issue after issue. But it's not uncommon for a print to be 24, 48, 72 hours. 3-day print's really common. Longest print we've done 2 weeks. We've done a 2-week print before.
I've done up to 9 days.
9 days. That's a long time for most people.
Yeah, I've done up to 9 days.
9 days is painful.
You may not think it, but there's a lot of detail in it. It's for it's tactile astronomy for the blind, so the blind can actually navigate it with their hands, the constellations of the night sky.
That's interesting. Yeah, so you're printing at a really low layer height, and there's a lot of detail, and it could take a long time. That's pretty. Yeah,
4 of them, 1 per season.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we were always 4.4, 0.5, all the way to 1 millimeter. That's usually the layer heights. It's usually you don't have a printer that big and sit on a large print with a 0.2 or a 0.1 layer height. It just takes way too long. So we're usually pushing a lot.
Yeah. So you want to let me ask one or two more questions. And you said you want to do a quick tour of the plant. So
Yeah, I can do a tour.
So you kind of touched on it earlier a while ago. So what is planned? What do you have planned? Like you are going to release a new printer for an end user grade printer. Like it won't be a desktop printer. It's going to be a large scale printer. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
That's coming up in the next couple of months. What
Yep.
else do you have planned for within the next 6 to 12 months?
In addition to the printer, we probably have four, five, six materials ready to be released. These are just materials we've been using internally. Definitely the recycled PETG will be very soon. And that one I'm pretty excited for because the cost is going to be a lot better. The cost is going to be pretty reasonable. It's very easy to use. And again, it's recycled. So aside from the printers, mostly going to be materials. So you're going to see a lot more materials.
I like the fact that you eat your own cooking. You actually use the material yourself before it gets released to anybody else. So you can burn it in and run it through the gauntlet to make sure it does what it's supposed to do.
100%. Yeah. And there has to be a purpose for it. You know, if we're using it, it's because someone needed it for something. And then, you know, as you said before, another big kind of pro for us is that we get to use the material. If someone wouldn't buy it, we're using it in our shop. If someone said, how do you know that your material is good? It's because we use 300 to 400 kgs a month.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of good filament manufacturers out there. There's tons of people making really good stuff. I think it's really difficult to say this is better than that, but what
I'd argue that one with you, and a lot of people on here will argue because I've seen some stuff that just won't print, no matter what you do, no matter how good you are, and how experienced. And there's other stuff. Then you put it in, you have to do nothing with it. You hit go, and you can walk away, and it comes out perfect. So,
well, let me say, if there were two good filament manufacturers side by side, and someone said, "Who should I buy from?" I would say they're both really good. It doesn't matter. But I can just tell you that we use tons of our own material, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of it. And that's kind of the best, you know, the best thing I can say about what we do. So
that's actually kind of interesting. Yeah. So you want to give us a quick tour around the plant?
Yep. So, let's go for a walk here.
Yeah. Matt's going to flip his camera around and go a tour around and give us a quick tour of the plant, so you can see what it's like there.
I'm gonna keep the camera here until I get outside, and then we'll flip it around here. All right. So actually, there's a ton of toys here. I'm going to flip this around because I like the toys. So it's a significant amount of toys there. I have not seen this yet, actually. I walked into this today, so.
That's cool.
So, room of manifesting. Here. All right. I'm going to try to go slow so that my camera can adjust here. So they're all kind of stacked together here, but you can see a considerable amount of TASs over there. In the back, we have our old Frankenstein medium-sized machines. Those would be the machines that our new printer is replacing here. So here's a new machine here with the enclosure off.
That's the one you're going to be shipping later this year or next year.
Yes, this will be the new one. So closed loop stepper motors, ball screws. This is a welded steel frame. That's 1/2-inch steel right there. The whole frame is about 750 pounds of steel.
Yeah, let me go full screen with you. So just give me 1 second. Because let me make sure everyone sees all the details.
IDEXing heads.
Oh,
so right now I have the E3D Chimeras on them for now. So not a lot of 3D printed components on this machine. Mostly aluminum, stainless steel. And we've got some IGUS CNC cable there.
Yeah,
so we're trying to eliminate a lot of the electrical wire issues that we have on machines like this. So this is the machine that you showed in your picture earlier. See if I can get the camera to focus here.
Yeah, I think if I wanted one of those in my house, I would have to become single again.
Yeah, you can see the size of it compared to the floor fan here.
There was a question. Well, there's a question there asking how much the bed weighs, but I'm assuming the bed doesn't move in that. It's the gantry, the X gantry moves up, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the bed is fixed. So the concept with this machine was, if it gets any bigger, we'd like to keep the design the same to keep it simple, but the bed can't get any heavier. That bed, I can't remember how heavy it is, but one person can't pick it up. I mean, it's very large. It's about a half inch aluminum plate, I believe.
Wow.
And it's got 4 kilowatts of heater mats on the underside. And these are all lead screws. So see, lead screws integrated into the motors.
No belts in that one.
It's kind of fun to print something small on the machine here.
Yeah, people are saying it's not as loud as they thought it would be for such a large machine.
No, you know, the motors that we're using are maybe a little bit larger. This is a double stack NEMA 23.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they put out a lot more torque, but they're not really pulling that much more power.
So what speed would that print at? How many millimeters per second would that move at?
These machines, I think the fastest travel of these machines do is maybe only about 250 millimeters a second. They're not very fast in travel. They will, the thing that looks kind of silly about when they travel is they're traveling over such a large distance that, you know, 100 millimeter, 200 millimeter, 300 millimeter a second. 300 millimeter a second is a foot a second. And so that's not that quick when your printer is 4 feet wide. You know, it takes 4 seconds to go from one side to the other. It makes it look very not fast.
That's cool.
Typically when we're printing, it really depends on, you know, how much material we're pushing out. But we really only print at like 50 or 60 millimeters a second. We don't print very quickly with those machines.
Because you'd probably get, well, you may not, but with the way it's set up, you probably don't see much ringing, even if you did go fast. But with the screw, you are limited on how fast you can move. So
yeah, and it's a lot of it's the speed of those screws. Those screws are not the fastest screws. It's about 25 millimeter of linear distance per revolution.
Yeah.
So I know the extruders aren't running because it's nighttime. But you can see our two lines here. The big one is right in front of us, and our smaller, older line is across there. So
how much filament do you push through that on a daily basis, on average?
Trying to see if I can show you guys some pellets here. Yeah, so this is black ABS. So a lot of what we do is natural, but that when we buy ABS in black, it comes pre-colored. So see a few spools here.
They're 10 kilo. Yeah.
Lots of product up on the shelf there.
So guys, when you order from IC3D, it's been pulled off that shelf for you.
Yeah, if you order from IC3D, it comes off the shelf there. Yeah, you see respooling here. So our two respoolers taking 10 kg spools, turning them into 1 kg spools.
So do you spool initially as 1 kilos, or do you spool at 10 kilos and then respool as required?
We extrude into 10 kilogram spools.
Okay.
Then we respool them into 1 kg or 2.5 kg.
Based on demand and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the bell Ryan was talking about here. It's just used as a little table there. There's another bell, giant bell.
Put caster wheels onto it. You can make it into a stool.
That's what we should do.
Wow, that's a cool setup, man. Very nice.
You see I didn't talk about the greenhouses, but the greenhouses are where we keep our material.
You keep it dry in there?
Keep it dry. So it's just a kind of a simple way to humidity control area really quick. There was a question you asked and I didn't answer it. It was how much material?
Yeah.
So those extruders will do about 30 pounds of material per hour. So about 15 kgs an hour, maybe, approximately.
And I'm assuming that they've been going nonstop, especially before anyway, but especially since COVID, it's probably been crazy trying to keep up with the demand.
Yeah. It has tapered off a bit since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
COVID was when it was really crazy. But we're definitely higher post-COVID than we were pre-COVID. I
think a lot of people bought printers during COVID as well. So
yep.
So now they're just using it for whatever else after the COVID stuff is done.
Yes. Yeah. I got one request to see the giant robot, so I'll show it really quick because everyone wants to see it here.
In the lobby?
Yeah, in the lobby. And I have not gone Scrooge McDuck in some pellets. You'd have pellets in a lot of places that you don't want pellets. Those things would get everywhere. This is a Fallout 4 T60 armor. A customer of ours made a long time ago. We donated about 100 kgs of material for him to make this. And this is a cosplay costume that he wore. And if you look around Reddit, if you Google around and say, how to 3D print Fallout T60 armor, he got quite a bit of press for it. So you'll see him around. His name is Yasu Tano.
That's kind of cool. Let me switch back over to double screen. So, someone has asked, have you ever, I think you answered it, the Scrooge McDuck.
No, that would be, we have some scrap. We have some scrap material where just kind of like any of the material on startup and shutdown lands, just that extra material, it's not in spec and it's not usable. The material we plan to be regrinding soon and making into more recycled products. But we end up with a lot of it over time and people have jumped into it. It's kind of fun.
Since you are going into recyclable PLA or PETG, forgive me, I'm sure it's not posted here, but I'm going to ask a question. Are you offering a service where people can send you scraps of materials or what?
We've talked about it.
Okay.
But that hasn't happened yet. So it's very possible that it could happen in the future, but we haven't done it. The recycled PETG we actually purchased the recycled PETG as a post-industrial material from another, like it's been used elsewhere in another industrial process, ground up and repelletized and resold. So we actually purchased that material. Now we have a customer that we're going to be, they specifically want the products that we make for them to be recycled after they're used. And so probably in the next few months, there will be a decently big post about that, a big kind of partnership marketing post that you'll see. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. But this actually service that we're going to be offering to a printing service customer to grind up those products and make filament to make the next products again, because those products are only used for like 2 months because they're used in design. And so when they're done, they would typically get thrown away. They want to ship them back to us and actually grind them up. So in that case, we're going to be able to internally work on that process to actually reuse that scrap and introduce it back into the filament. And so that will be recycled PETG that gets re-recycled into more PETG. It's pretty cool. So I think that's going to give us the training and the knowledge to do it maybe with other products in the future, maybe PLA, or maybe just, actually taking material. But, it will be an issue getting material back from people that's clean, or someone accidentally puts ABS or PLA or something, they accidentally mix it up. It has to be very clean, and it has to be very carefully sorted. And that's probably the big issue with accepting material back from other people. But it's going to be way better than trying to cut up milk cartons that have like rotting milk in them and stuff, right? Like it's way worse. So
you have some questions. Let's start off with the first question. Now, the way this is going to work, guys, Matt's going to ask a question. The first person to give the right answer that we see, or that Matt sees, because Matt knows the answers. So the first person to give the right answer that on our chat will be the winner. And we're actually giving away a couple of spools of filament of IC3D. Is it PLA or PETG or what is it? Do you know?
I don't think we picked anything out. So I think if someone has a preference, I would be more than happy to let them pick.
Okay, so you can have the PLA or PETG.
Your choice.
So your choice. So if you would like to go and ask the first question.
Yeah, very good. So there's 3 questions. These get harder and harder. Okay. The first one is the easiest one. All of these can be found on the website. Okay. So the first question is, who is our culture compliance officer and do they like head scratches?
Okay. And if you're wondering where the website is, their website is right here.
Yeah.
So just in case you're wondering, so the first person to give the answer, I'm going to leave the website link up permanently because it will be used. So go dig out on their website, find the answer, and the first person to post it in chat will be the winner.
John Shell. That was quick.
Congratulations, John. So John, I want you to drop me a message, either message me on, since you're on Facebook, find me on Facebook, Astroprinter, or you can message me, or you have the option to send me an email to my email address. Drop me an email there, and send me your details of your what material you prefer, and your name and address, and I will forward it on, and we will get you a spool of filament. So that was fast. So you're on. Just do that.
That was the easy one. So that would be like, whatever. Okay. So here we go. The next one. This is a bit harder. In addition to producing multiple types of PETG, ABS, ASA, PLA, and more in our Columbus, Ohio-based facility, IC3D also operates a 3D printing service using custom large format 3D printers. How big is the build volume of our large 3D printers?
We discussed that. That came up a while ago. It's on their website, and it came up in conversation a while ago, if you remember, while we were on the tour.
Yeah.
So definitely. Again, first person, go to the website if you don't have it.
Should be on the website. There's numbers. Yeah, close, but
no cigar. Let's see if we have. Are you going to accept that, or do you want to see if you get a better answer?
See if we get a better one because it's close. That's Mark. That's really close. I'm being particular on here because it's.
Well, let's see if we get it. If we get it right, let's give 1 or 2 more people to post.
900. A little further away. Mark got it. There you go.
So Mark didn't win the last one, so you only get one win per person. So Mark, again, you can message me if you wish to on Facebook, or you can actually drop me an email with your contact information, and I will forward it on, and we'll get you your spool. Now, make sure you let me know whether you want PLA or PETG, and we'll get you a spool of material shipped out to you. Okay. So now the gauntlet has been thrown down.
Yeah.
Last question. This is going to be a harder one to dig out.
This one's like maybe disproportionately harder. Here. Okay. Challenging. This one's pretty challenging. So IC3D is still the only manufacturer of certified open source hardware filament. Answer this question about the not so secret details on how we produce our much loved production grade PETG, ABS, and PLA and win a prize. What is the extruder head pressure of our filament extruder when we're producing PETG in MPa or PSI? So either one. So the extruder head pressure of our filament extruder when we're producing PETG.
Okay, go dig in the website. It's out there.
It's on the website. Let's see.
I don't have any information about that.
Sorry, my Google is talking to me.
So a hint being that this is around in our This is in our open source Filament GitHub.
Okay, it's in the GitHub, guys.
Maybe
so
it's under About Us. So About Us open source Filament. So I'll give you guys that.
So you have a few minutes to see if anyone posts the right answer. But while we're waiting, so we talked about what's coming up. You do an offer for automotive as well. A lot of your large printers has been used in automotive as well, correct?
Yeah.
Like those big 4-meter printers, do you design them and install them in some of the automotive factories, or are they just only in-house machines?
The big ones are only in-house machines. The idea of the 3rd gen steel, that steel framed red machine that I showed you, is that will be installed in a lot of customer factories. So that would be if I have a customer that we do a lot of work for, that customer might say, hey, it would make more sense if I could do this in-house. Or you might even get into a point where it's actually not cost effective for us to print something, but it would be cost effective if they printed it in their factory themselves. Mm-hmm. So in that case, that really helps, and because we take the time to develop an application, we can sort of give that knowledge and that to them so that they can do it.
Okay, we have an answer. Is that correct?
Let me see.
You can look it up.
I don't think so. Close. It's getting close. All right, it's getting close.
Getting close. So we're not 17 psi.
You need a unit though.
Yeah, pick a unit.
This would be MPa or PSI.
Yeah, that's a tricky question. So
it's a hard question.
I'll tell you what. That's close. Let's see if we can get some closer answer. But it's worth a spool of filament, guys. It's really good material. I use it myself, I have to admit. Okay, we have.
What's that?
Justin.
Oh. All right, Justin. Justin's got one of those numbers is right.
Get out your calculator and calculate the inverse of each of them. Anybody? We're close, and we've only got a few minutes left. We're got 3 minutes left, so they're eager to give it away, guys. So while we're waiting to see if anyone else comes up with a better answer than Justin's, because you said he's really close.
Hey, one of his numbers, Justin, one of your numbers is right.
Well, so does it go to Justin because he got one of them right, even though he posted 2 different numbers? That's your decision, man.
All right, we'll go with Justin.
All right.
I'm happy
Justin,
with it.
Congratulations. Drop me a message, Justin, so I get your info. Somebody else says 15, or somebody else said, again, there's no unit of measurement with them. So Justin wins.
Justin's good.
Congratulations, Justin. Spool of filament on your way. Drop a message to me. If you again, let me post up my email address, and you can drop me a message, and I will get with your contact information, and I will get it down. I'm going to get you a spool of filament. Well, thank you first of all for the giveaways. They all like giveaways. Everybody likes freebies, right? It's the best prize. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, people get to try out some of the materials that they haven't got a chance to try out.
Yeah.
If you guys are interested in the material and you want to sample some material, if you shoot us an email on the contact, we'd probably be happy to get you a discount code so you guys can try something out for the first time, a little bit discounted. So.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look to see if there's any questions we missed. I don't think there was. There's a lot of comments, but not many questions. A lot of people thanking you for your providing materials and helping out during the COVID stuff, and there's lots and lots of comments along those. This has been good. I don't think we missed anything, so I think we're okay. So. Thank you, Matt, for coming on. Thank us for showing us around the shop. It was interesting to see. I actually saw your CEO do a tour a while back, and when I saw that stream, I said that would be fun for a stream. So that's why I reached out to you guys. So
Very
thank
good.
you for accommodating. It's late, I know. You're the same time zone as me, so it's going on. It's just turning 9 o'clock in the evening now.
Yeah.
But it was been fun. Thank you for coming out. And if you hold on a second, I'll just drop over, do my closing, and then when we end the stream, I'll hook back up with you. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you. Well, guys, that was an interesting event. It was fun. We got to see a tour around a filament factory, which is kind of cool, and we got to see really, really, really big printers. So please remember that. Please remember to like and subscribe and so on to the stream, whether on Facebook and YouTube, whichever. Those thumbs up on YouTube and Facebook actually make a big difference on promoting the channel on YouTube and Facebook. Please remember, if you would like to become an ongoing subscriber to the channel and donate to the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. If not, if you want to do a one-off, you can drop me a couple of bucks through PayPal, or if you just want to buy me a cup of coffee, you can always do that. And remember, this time next week at 8 p.m. on the 17th, we have Tim Huggins, on the 10th, sorry. We have Tim Huggins from TH3D is going to come on and talk about his company, about what his company does. So a lot of you have dealt with TH3D out there, so please join back in next week and hopefully see you online for next week. And also every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I do a Hangout. So you're free to come in, chat, hang out, talk about whatever. We do 3D printing, laser engraving, CNC, the whole works. I'm involved in all of it. So come hang out with us. And thank you again for joining us tonight. And I will see you again next week. Thank you and goodbye.